people. I'd like to speak now with Wayne Parrott. Wayne is the Human Resources Manager at KINZE Manufacturing. Okay. And KINZE is a leading manufacturer of row crop planters and giant grain auger wagons and one of North America's largest independently owned farm equipment companies. Wayne, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
You're very welcome.
Tell us a little bit of background, if you could, about your role and how many people are there at KINZE, and sort of paint a picture for us, if you would.
I've been in HR for almost 25 years. I've been here about a year. My role here is to build an HR organization. Because KINZE has been growing so swiftly over the past few years, we needed to make sure that we had the HR infrastructure prepared and ready to support that particular growth.
You've been brought in to help create a whole human resources team and an approach that says this company is growing fast. We need to make sure that we are employing best practices, attracting top talent, making sure that we keep them.
Absolutely. We want to be the employer of choice.
Can you share with us, without giving away any trade secrets, obviously, what you learned and where you want to focus first?
We are in a growth march, as I shared with you. When I stepped in here, we were in a hiring mode, and we still are in a hiring mode. We needed to find some key technical people and professional people. And in order to find the top people, we need to have the tools in place in order to make that selection. One of the things that we believe here is anybody that we hire and bring on board, we try and stack the deck well enough so that that individual is successful. We go through quite a lengthy recruiting process, which includes Caliper. That's number one, bringing the right people on board really to take us where we want to go.
Right, and so you have to make sure that you create the right package to create the right talent and retain that talent.
That's correct. That's correct.
What I'd love to do is hear your thoughts beyond the hiring. Have you had situations where you've also taken the insights from Caliper and either worked with your Caliper consultant here or used that information in a way to help someone who hit a performance slump or having some concerns, or also used it to help identify someone as you're moving to move them into a new position?
One of the things that we've done, this was prior to me coming here actually, most of our professional or office personnel have taken the Caliper assessment. One of the things that affords us is the opportunity to have a tool that we can use at any time. We've used various instruments like the IDG, the Individual Development Guide, to help when we're looking at the staying power of someone in a particular position. Are they right for the position? Is it a right match? Or looking at promoting someone. Is it the right match to going into this particular position for this individual? We've also used various assessments for team building, the organizational development. We've had you guys on site to take a senior leadership team through an exercise, a team building exercise. So this helps us to more effectively work together.
Interesting. You take out the Caliper profile results, you look at the individual development guide, which is a special report that is written for that individual to help him or her understand their strengths, understand how to build upon those strengths, and also understand some areas that could be developmental opportunities for them. Can you tell us about how you took someone like that looking into a promotion and saw something in them that you might not have recognized otherwise?
Well, I'll go beyond that, something that kind of confirmed what we had suspected. I had an individual that we wanted to promote into a particular area, and we wanted to make a decision of whether we wanted to keep him there going forward into the future. We looked at the individual development guide, looked at his caliper, we looked at his performance record, and there was some things that we saw that the IDG and the caliper kind of confirmed what we were seeing, and we ended up not moving that individual, unfortunately.
Can you tell us specifically what you saw, or what were the concerns?
One of the things was a sense of urgency. We felt that in stressful situations, so this individual wouldn't be able to make decisions on his own necessarily. He knew what he knew, but wasn't able to go beyond that and be creative. So through an interview with him, I was able to confirm that based on what we saw with the caliper.
In this situation, so you had somebody up for promotion, saw some concerns, saw some reasons not to do that. What happened with this particular individual, and how did that move?
We shared with him what our concerns were.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great individual. He does very well with the job that he's doing or had been doing. Here at KINZE, we want to make sure that you're successful.
Mm-hmm. And take me, if you would, now to the executive team building. Now, you said this is a new team that's being brought together?
Yeah, we've been together for maybe a little over a year. And as teams go, you always want to increase your effectiveness in working together. And we consulted with Caliper folks, and we had Eileen come down here with Ann and take us through a session. And it gave us an understanding that, number one, we're all different. And in order for us to work together, we need to recognize those differences in how we approach certain things. I have certain strengths that another person may not. It's putting together that whole brain, and understanding what that whole brain is and how effective that you can be if you utilize the skills and the talents and the behaviors that each one of us brings to the party.
And so much as it, as you're describing, Wayne, is about understanding yourself as well as understanding where others are coming from. And amazing things can happen when you get those little aha moments and realize, oh, that's why he or she is coming across that way.
That's correct. That's correct.
Did the team become more cohesive as a result of that?
Absolutely. I think in the staff meetings particularly, things are smoother. We realize that there are people in our group that are comfortable in social settings and some of them are not.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we're going to be utilizing is those people that are icebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
We're recognizing that when we get into group settings.
And that's so important, to recognize and appreciate and then play to the strengths that we all bring to the table. What advice would you give to other companies who are looking to utilize the assessments that Caliper can help to bring in an objective way, in a way that can help provide insights, particularly as you look to make sure that you are either promoting the right people or making sure that your top talent is where it needs to be?
Well, one thing that I can say is that, number one, the Caliper works. We know, from experience, that to keep our company growing, we need to attract and develop the top performers. The Caliper, we know from our experience, works. Caliper is a great tool that we've learned to trust and believe in as we continue to build and strengthen our company. We want to build for success, and not only for a company standpoint, but for the people that's going to get us there.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you so much. And it's great to hear things are going so well at KINZE. The idea that you are growing in your niche in agribusiness is exciting to hear about.
Thank you very much.
Now, that's actually something that fascinates me, Eileen. Wayne had someone who was performing at the top of their game, but by looking at their Caliper profile results, it was discovered that this person wasn't ready to be promoted into a new position. Can you give us an example of someone you coached in a situation like that, and how you worked with that manager to help guide them?
I can. I've got somebody that I've worked with who is an up-and-comer, a younger person in the organization who everybody had very high hopes for, who, for lack of a better way of putting it, now people are starting to see this person as a little too big for their britches. So now that behavior is becoming counterproductive from the perspective of some of the folks in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you want to be able to do in that situation is continue to keep that person motivated and to continue to have them perform at the level that made you happy, but tone it down a notch because people aren't responding well. And so the manager comes and says, well, it's the employee's problem, and then the employee says, well, but my manager said. And so what we're doing in that situation is kind of helping them to talk with each other candidly about which are the behaviors that are appropriate and which are the behaviors that are productive and which are the ones that aren't, so that the person can continue to have a successful career path and not derail themselves inadvertently in the process. And so we give the employee some coaching suggestions and help them to reflect and examine their own behavior and determine which are the behaviors they want to continue and which are the ones they want to modify. And we help the manager to be able to set expectations and provide appropriate feedback to that person in a timely manner so that the situation doesn't escalate or reoccur because the manager's expecting the person to just correct it themselves without them having to intervene. And the profile helps guide us to what are the things that the manager's going to be comfortable saying and doing, and what are the things that the employee is going to be comfortable saying and doing without setting them up to fail by expecting them to behave in a way that's inconsistent with who they are.
Very good, very good. Let's switch gears now, Eileen, and talk about how the same insights that come from the Caliper profile and then how a Caliper consultant can help if an organization is looking to promote somebody.
Yeah, well, what we see in people who are being promoted is the first thing that's important to remember is that you are promoting people based on what their likelihood of success is in the future role, not just demonstrated success in their former role. Because you can have somebody who's a very strong individual contributor, for example, a very strong salesperson, and then get moved into a management role and not be as effective in that role, and you've actually set them up for failure because you made a promotional decision based on what they used to be good at, not what they will need to be good at in the future. So I think that we don't want to minimize how important that decision is and how important it is to reflect on, does this person have the traits and dynamics to be successful in the future role?
Now, to me, Eileen, that sounds like quite a challenge, taking a long, hard look at who you have in order to pave the way for future leaders. I'd like to take a moment to speak with Janae Fromm. Janae is the owner of Janae Inc., and she specializes in coaching and developing leaders and management teams. Janae, can you tell us a little bit about your company first, please?
Well, sure. Basically, Janae Inc. is a leadership consulting business, and I work with executive leaders and help them become the people and the leaders that they're meant to be. I really believe that each one of us is trying to become the people that we are meant to be, and I think for leaders it becomes exceptionally difficult when they get into a leadership position to continue to make those changes that advance them forward. And most of my leaders that I work with, especially at an executive level, have figured out that what got them where they are is not going to keep them there or move them forward. And so we work together to kind of break through those barriers.
Well, and that's such a conundrum that you've just spoken about, Janae. I mean, I know a lot of what you do has to do with training and coaching and team building and strategic thinking and change management. But really, what you're talking about is helping, as you said, a leader become who he or she is destined to be. Much of that they've been tapped for because of what they've done in the past, but the conundrum, as you said, is that what got them there isn't going to get them where they need to be.
Yeah, a lot of those words that you used and that I use even to describe my own business of change management, strategic, and all that kind of stuff, a lot of those words are just kind of words that I think we put around stuff so that we can understand it. But the bottom line is, I think we each have a destined potential, and it's pretty rare for us to reach it. And I think there's some sort of balance that has to be found between what the needs of the job and the company is and what the potential for the person is to become the type of leader and the person that they're meant to be. And so how can we marry those two things in such a way that we are getting the best out of our leaders and not just the most? I think most of our jobs, and I get it, I mean, I'm a businesswoman myself, but most of the jobs out there have been designed to get the most out of people and not necessarily the best out of people. So as work comes in, I mean, I think leaders do a decent job of that, but we take the best fit we can find, and we kind of force these things together. We don't have the luxury all the time in business, especially as a company gets bigger and bigger, to match everyone perfectly, especially if we don't understand what their preferences are or what the perfect fit is or what their best is. Then we're just kind of throwing people at work. And as work gets busy and when the economy goes down, we have to take in work and we have to get it done, and we don't want to lose clients, and so we continue to just throw people at work rather than find the very best fit.
That's a very interesting thought. Most jobs are designed to get the most rather than the best.